Hello, everybody. Today is September 13th, and one of the biggest things we need to consider moving forward is inflation. And why is this important for us to know? Whether you are an essential employee or someone cruising at home on vacation on that unemployment juicy benefits, well, you need to know this because this is going to affect everybody. Because what's been going on recently, and well, actually, for a long time now, is that ever since we got off the gold standard, right? Um, the US dollar is no longer backed by gold. So that means politicians and the government can print as much US dollars as they want. And, you know, that's okay when you are a global leader and people have to abide by what you do and what your rules are. But, currently we have a lot of rising powers from China, right? And that's, yes, 2 days ago or so, we found news that China wants to create their own financial system, right? Which makes sense because the U.S. is debating whether or not they want to default on the massive loan that they have towards China because they're not able to pay for it. So you can see that maybe while we are fed a lot of propaganda, maybe the U.S. isn't as strong as we think it is. Maybe China is a little bit more powerful than we think they are. Maybe yes, China does steal our technology, but maybe the U.S. steals their work and their labor and their money. But anyway, with that being said, I don't want to get too much into that. But something we do need to address is that inflation is going to occur. It's already been occurring for years now. But if you've noticed in the past 10, 15 years, 20, but more specifically 10, 15 years or so, have you guys noticed that the dollar menu on McDonald's no longer exists? Right? It says dollar menu, but it's like $2, $3 now. And the gas prices have been rising, and your pay has stayed sort of the same and has risen slowly, but things around you are just costing a lot more than they used to. And that's due to inflation. So when you have a lot of people consuming, especially in a time like this, and they're not producing, right? The only people producing right now are those who are working, the essential employees. All the non-essentials are just consuming, and they're consuming more than ever. What's going to happen to the cost of goods and services? Well, they're going to rise. And the only reason why they weren't rising for a little bit is because of small, little, minute things like maybe there was an oil surplus, so that allowed goods and services to decline in price. But now that that's over and people are starting to go back to work, we're going to notice that oil and gas, these things are going to rise in price. And these things are like the engine to let other things function and be created. So we're going to notice that everything's going to be rising in price, as they already have. The problem is with that is that your pay rate's probably going to stay the same or decrease, and the cost of living is only going up. Certain things like we're going to notice that certain things won't be hit as hard, or we won't notice that the price rise as much, or they'll stay a little stagnant for a while, like maybe housing, because of the way the housing market is and how there was a bubble in that and how people are defaulting and they're having to sell their homes. But you know we're going to notice that overall the value of the dollar is going to decrease tremendously if we haven't already noticed that. I've noticed that in my area in particular, restaurants that maybe you could go there for lunch for $12 an hour have now raised their prices to $15, $16 an hour for the same thing and serve a little bit less just to match the inflation rate. And there was a grace period when they lowered the prices slightly just to make it through the hard times of the COVID-19, but those are over, sort of, and now they're starting to raise their prices back up because more people are starting to go out on the streets again. But the problem is that for the longest time ever, we've been printing more money, and we've printed more money than we've actually produced So uh, it's been a long day. I'm working overtime this week again, so my brain's a little fried. I've been making videos because my brain is fried because I've been working so much and I'm tired and exhausted. But, that being said, something people really need to consider is that we got to be thinking about the essential employees. And you're probably thinking to yourself, who cares about essential employees, Yeah, at least they have a job. Yeah, at least they have a job during a global pandemic, making less than a lot of people on unemployment. People on unemployment benefits are making more than a lot of the essential employees working the front lines. Because a lot of these frontline jobs don't really pay that much to begin with. So let me ask you this. If the prices of goods and services and the cost of living is rising, right? Because we've printed so much money, we've been consuming more than we produce as a country. China and other countries like China, for example, don't want to buy our debt because they know that we're going to possibly default on it to the point that they want to make their own financial system. How are essential employees going to be okay? Like, if you're, like, here's a story, okay? If you have two brothers, right? And let's look at this picture we have here. Okay, one is a janitor. Okay, two of them are janitors, right? One's a janitor who works at a school that's been shut down. The other brother is a janitor who works at a hospital that's still active. They both make like $10 an hour. If one janitor is making $10 an hour, which is $400 a week, which is 40 hours, one brother who's on unemployment benefits was previously with the CARES Act bonus of $600, was making $800 a week to stay at home, go on vacation, party, do whatever he wants, buy more things off Netflix. Buy more things off Amazon, get subscriptions to Netflix and Disney. Maybe gamble in the stock markets, maybe focus on his school and education, maybe spend more time with his kids and family, maybe start a garden, do all these great things. Maybe he went on Craigslist and bought a nice new Jeep or something. Making $800 a week, doing whatever he wants, not risking his health, not producing, just consuming. While the other brother, who makes $400 a week, he's been working longer hours than ever, harder than ever, stressed out, mentally drained, not receiving any hazard pay, risking his life every day, just like the nurses and doctors, because he's working in the hospital, except he's cleaning up after the messes. He's risking his health, exposing his life, and he's working harder than ever, stressed out, making only $400 an hour. If the prices of goods and services are rising due to inflation, because people are consuming more than they're actually producing, how is the guy making $400 risking his life going to be okay? Let's just say after the month, the guy who is a janitor at the hospital makes $1,600 before taxes, right? And then by the end of that, he was living paycheck to paycheck, but he stores like $50 away into his bank account. But as food rises, as gas rises, as the cost of living rises, as the rent goes up, as all these things go up, how is he going to be okay if prices are rising, but he's only making $400 an hour, stressed out, drained out? And the other guy, his brother, or his counterpart, the school janitor got, laid off. He has a job guaranteed when the school reopens. He was making $800, and now that they've decreased it from $600 to $400 or $300, he's making $500 to $600 per week. So he's fine. He's still making a surplus of money. So how is that fair for the person who's risking his life, working harder than ever, providing goods and services for the economy? This doesn't make any sense. They've been screwed. Essential employees have been screwed over so hard. If you talk to any essential employee, they're pissed. I'm pretty sure the grocery clerk is livid. But, with that being said, none of my friends, none of my family want to go back to work because they just love the unemployment benefits. I don't know how they're going to make it right. They probably won't, but I would just give up on your country if I were you, because you can't trust anybody in this world because everybody's selfish.